Hey guys, welcome back. Marius here, and we have some crazy story about, well, I will show you what it is about, but actually I was trying to test something and I found a bug, I found a glitch, I found something awesome, and I want to share it with you, alright? So, let's clear out first things first. The previous video where I tried to improve Fudge Muppet Captain build, I was not going to attack, I'm not attacking him, but well, there is some optimization that can be done, so the build he shows can be done a little bit improved version. That's it, let's forget about it. Until one moment, not only him, but everyone in my comment section is going crazy like, dude, you have to have science. Science, that's the real stuff. Why? Obviously it improves shock damage, it improves corrosion, pulse. Basically it's just insane damage. But is it? But is it really? Let's jump right into, and I will show you where it's not, where it's actually not. All right. So first thing first, let's take a look at my. Yeah, it's on. Did you know that actually Sam cannot kneel? He don't care if order is to sneak or to stand. He's like, I'm robot. I don't give a damn. Funny. All right, but that's not the point. Let's see. So let me show you. This is endgame. Obviously, this is basically. I'm just going a little bit crazy about this game and checking out things. And let me show you. It's impossible. I am already in this stage. So whenever someone asks how and what's to do, I'm like, yeah. Let me explain you and show you. So let's jump into a bit crazy part. So I have final level. This is basically before the last mission, but that doesn't matter. I already put points. I have all perks allocated for my chosen companions. So I have also put perks in this particular point, which we need to have more blah blah. You know, all the story, so we can have skill bonuses and all the bonuses. Then obviously I went first with inspiration, so we have a bonus skill double, all that. As you can see, we almost max out here. I just needed 4 more points. I will show you why. And then I have hacking and lockpicking, 100, obviously, and then I have intimidation, 100, so I can use it. But the main question this video is about, if you haven't figured out yet, is science. Is it actually good? And yes, don't give me this bullshit about tinkering cost. I already explained why this fully going in here will actually only increase your weapon damage you can afford by 3 levels. Because the price goes up by tinkering so fast that these 90% sounds good, but in theory, but testing in real life, that's actually 3 levels, 3 weapon levels, and that's not much. All right, let's be honest. Because when you have a lot of money, and that's not much. But question why we are here, and that's why I have 88 points, is you see I have not put a single point in science. So what I'm going to do, not going to spend time here clicking a lot. I have saved already for that. But what we are testing here right now, right here, I don't care, is whatever. Is I have 2 weapons. I have weapon with just, I had it all the time. I'm using because it's awesome. It's quite improved as well. It has shock damage, and another one is sniper rifle. Also, it has plasma damage. And this is not upgraded, just swapped out. But anyways, I'm just looking at 2 because they are different ones. One is slow and hard hitting, another one is something in the middle. But the most important part is when we look at science. Science gives us, as you can see, I'm trying to highlight, plasma damage and shock damage. And that's what basically we are aiming at. If you're looking at here, nothing else is regarding the damage. So everyone is super hyped about this damage, right? Because it's awesome. And actually shock type damage is one of my favorites because it's somehow really good against mechanics, but also somehow good against living flesh. They are shocked. They are like, maybe it's just me, but it's it works for against everyone. But okay, besides that, it will be just faster if I'm not clicking like a crazy. I have manual saves. It's exactly the same point. I need to load this one, I believe. No, shit, I saved it. Shit, did I? But did I? Okay, anyways, it doesn't matter as much as more as the proof, but I think it's not the right one. Yeah, it's not the right one. Fine, let's click like a crazy maniacs. Because we need those 88 points, and actually we will switch out from here. Because we can't do anything here. I will just quickly show you what everything, blah blah blah. We are purely ignoring medical and engineering. We're just putting those 88 points, which are precisely left over, so I can have fully upgraded. You can see like quite a lot more than 100 actually points, so I have plasma damage and everything. And what changes, let me actually show you one extra trick. If you go out and go out with escape, then open, you see my weapons are doing damage, 636 DPS right now, and this one is 679, right. Then obviously they both are science weapons. We put all the points here. If you go back, you see damage is increased, so basically it's already showing like, yes, you did the right thing. But did you? No, you did not. Spoiler alert. Let me quickly switch over to... So, let me show you. We are looking at weapon stats, not only there, but also in here. Yeah, okay. Let me quickly show you. This is the top, this image is before upgrade. This was, you can go back and see whatever makes you happy, but this was the damage before I put the points. So damage per minute, damage per second, blah, 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 all the stats. And at this side, this screen is visible, yes it is. This is after upgrade. So currently, if I'm switching off the screen again, no, this, yeah. You see, it's 192 damage and 800 damage per second. And if you look here, this is exactly the same. Sorry, yeah, this is exactly the same because the same screenshot. What I want to do, obviously, is use my, well, just math to see the comparison, because let me quickly guide you through and you will see, and it's easier than it looks. It looks complicated, but just strap in. This is the math everyone loves, right? So first things first, let's just take a look of if our calculations are right. So we had a damage, right? 153. This is why it's colored green, because these numbers are picked from there. It's not something we are doing calculations about. So this is damage. As you can see, we are splitting in two parts, because one is damage per minute. No, it's not them, but yeah, it is. Rounds per minute and rate of fire, which is shots per second. So one is actually minutes, one is seconds. Why there is difference? Because if you cannot unload full magazine in 1 second, then your damage shots fired per second will be greater than shots fired in minute, because in the time of minute you will run out of magazine and it will calculate in reload time. Simple as that. So that's why there's a difference. If you take rounds per second and multiply by seconds in minute, you will not get this number, because there is also downside of reloading. So it doesn't matter. Well, it matters at the end, but you will see. So what I'm doing here, right, is shots per minute times the damage, and this is the calculations, and here's the same, just in second, right? And these are the numbers I calculated, and these are the numbers I'm picking up from here. Damage per minute, because it's given in the game, and damage per second, also given in the game, right? And if we compare those two numbers, this is actually comparison, one against another, the difference is small. There's like nothing, there's like less than 1/4 of a percent. What it means, our calculations are right. This is how they calculate damage per second, damage per minute. Cool, because I'm not going to do full damage, magazine count, reload. We don't need it because we have those numbers, right? So far so good. This will be always the first part of all the boxes. Let's jump into the next part where things start to get interesting, because game is cool giving us numbers, but it's also stupid because it doesn't calculate in cool thing called critical. And critical, there are two parameters. If you look at here, we have critical chance, how often you do critical, and what's the damage multiplier. And mostly in games it's used like twice as much, but this game also allows you to upgrade and change the critical damage meter, right? And I will give you right away the information that both my pistol and my rifle has critical damage plus 25% mod on the barrel. That's one of them, I think, common mods. I have a lot of it, so I'm putting it on every gun. You should do the same. But okay, these numbers doesn't matter because the same weapon was used without science and with science, right? So let's then do my first calculation, which gives you some impression why you should pay attention to math and to such awesome videos as mine. So the same damage, right? Then we have my critical chance, which is in decimals, so 0.297. That's the same percentage, just in different numbers. And this one is calculation. Obviously, the rest of these are the normal shots. These are the critical shots. This is the chance of outcome when I start shooting. What's next is whenever I start shooting with my damage expected from my pistol, basically 7 out of 10 shots will be normal damage, and normal damage will be 100%. This is just nothing changes. Simple as that. So calculation goes like this. I'm taking damage multiplied by time, chance, what's the chance to get that shot, then it's multiplied by what's the critical damage meter, which in our case is just 100%, and then we did divide by 100. So you can see it's multiplied by 100 and divided by 100. So because it's a normal damage, so it ends up the damage portion of normal damage will be 100, and then I take this critical chance, as you can see here, critical chance applied on my damage, and then applied which is what is the critical damage, more than twice. It's 208%. So this is the portion. Actually, you can see it's some part of my damage, some amount of my shots fired will be critical, but the critical is doing double the damage, so that the portion will be higher. And this said, if you add up, it basically what it means, my shots, when it's equaled out, will do not 153 damage as in the previous calculations and as the numbers are showing, but actually counting in critical, chance and damage, it will be in average 202 damage, right? And what it changes is if we put the same, this is exactly the same copied from the top. If we put our new number or new expected, taking in consideration criticals damage for every shot, and then multiply it by rounds per minute, and then multiple by rounds per second, shots per second, the outcome is, you see, this is the actual outcome, actual real number, without any upgrade, without any science even. And this is the same because, as you can you can see, but there is no difference. The criticals are just not in there, and the difference for my calculations with criticals is already 24%. So this is quite big. right away. The numbers you see in your screen with your weapons, with your build, anything, it's already wrong because there's no criticals, right? Right. So let's move on. Let's move on. At this part, if you already seen, this is the new gun. This is our new with full science, 100%, 100 points put in science. So as this is a shock damage, as you can see, damage already went up by simple that. So we put, this is copied exactly the same box. Basically, I don't need to explain anymore because the same box, the same logic applies everywhere. So now we have science. Science is already giving us more damage straight away. The rounds per minute is the same, shots the same. Basically what changes is, yeah, and we do the same, see if same calculation stands, and we see the difference from my calculation and from game given around damage per second and damage per minute. Yes, it is the same. Now we apply exact same critical thing, and as you can see, having science doesn't increase critical chance, doesn't increase critical damage. So these numbers are exactly the same, just our input damage is higher, which obviously means our output damage with critical considered is way higher. And then we put again our new damage per shot with critical taking in consideration, and we see the difference. Well, basically this exactly the same difference. What we had, what game is giving us, for example, 800 damage per second. Actually, with critical taken in consideration, that weapon will do 1,000 damage per second, and in minutes it's also 45,000 damage per minute, and games said only 34,000. All right, so this is already like, okay, kind of understandable. But what I'm counting and checking is this: what was the damage output from before 100 science, right? Because that's where we are interested in. And after science, so the increasement from putting 88 points in science gave us 25% more damage. And this is true for two parameters, basically. For my calculated, because these white are my calculated numbers. And also, if you just compare game given data, even if it's wrong, even if there's no criticals counted in, it's approximately the same. So 25% is the boost you can have if you had 12 points or 100 points in science. Cool. Yeah, not exactly. Let me quickly slide you and show you something cooler. What can be cooler? You see, yeah, you see both. So what I do instead in some other, let me quickly show. Everyone already lost their interest and switched over, but those who are super patient, let me load that one silly game. Is what I wanted to test out is, everyone is super hyped about the damage output from science on your science weapon, right? What if I purely increase ranged? I went for 50 on ranged and then used the rest of the points for my just handguns. And this is where it gets interesting. And again, we will jump back to the this is the same weapon, the same save output when you put 100 points in ranged weapons. And the funny thing is, when you put in ranged, it doesn't increase your damage. You see, in the damage meter, it still shows nothing, like. And if you look at damage per minute, it's actually exactly the same as it was before even upgrading. So what actually increases is critical, also damage, but critical shot. So this is where things start to get interesting. As you can see, the stat that is changed is 80%, which means from 5 shots, 4 of them will be critical. And if we go back, just at that, this is, I give you all the numbers. So damage the weapon does is exactly the same. Calculations are the same, percentages are the same, and critical, the only changes from the base was now my critical actually is most of my shots will be critical. What it means, the portion that will be normal shots is actually small, and it will do small, but the most of my shots will be multiple, and this is actually tricky. If you look at the weapon critical damage, it is the same. It shouldn't be, because game tier, second tier of ranged weapons dictates that you will have twice as critical damage, but it's not twice, but actually plus 50%. I will show you where the bug is. I think there's a bug. There should be a bug, because it's just hilarious. And it ends up when you have 4 of 5 shots critical, the average damage per your shot is pretty freaking high. And if you put that number here and do the calculations, run the calculations, damage per minute and damage per second, your outcome is pretty freaking high. You see, with science we had 45,000. Here I have 51,000. And that's not it, ladies and gentlemen. This is even hilarious. So, difference between game showing you what's the damage output for weapon is still 27,000, and difference from actual numbers is almost twice. It's literally 46%. The damage is higher when you have fully upgraded hand weapons. And these percentages are, I compared if you have science versus if you have ranged weapons. This is actually the core of what I wanted to make video about. So when you go full science with science weapons, your improvement will be 25%. But if you go with ranged weapons, it will be even 12% higher than science. And to be fair, these numbers actually are still wrong. Let me give you an answer why all this actually is still wrong. Because when you jump back to your skills and look at handguns, so this is the funny thing. You see, the second tier dictates that your handgun critical damage will be improved by 50%. But when you go back and see actual, if there is now 258, no, it's not. It's I don't know if game actually is ignoring the number that in the back end maybe it works, or maybe it doesn't give you the, I don't know, one of these are broken, but as you can see, this should be improved. But let's check the other tiers. Minimum armor penetration damage, all right? But we can count in penetration also, but just bear with me. Debuffed enemies critical chance, so enemies shoot less critical, kind of good, less incoming damage. Look at the last one, handgun, critical hits ignore 100% of armor. So you don't care if enemy is boss, super boss, mechanical, I don't know. Actually, I think it doesn't, because all your criticals will ignore 100% of the armor. So all my calculations, to be fair, all my calculations was considered the same armor penetration, same armor and same, you know. But actually, remember, 4 of 5 or shots now fully ignore freaking armor. So long story short, the damage is freaking insane. But let's just leave it like that. I will show you another bug quickly, another bug, and then I will just demonstrate the outcome, and you can be judged for yourself and test out yourself, because now I'm loading another version of Not Going Science, and as I said before, we start with 2 weapons. And this time I went not with handguns but with long guns. And long guns, this is something interesting. Long guns is, if you see here, whenever I reached 2nd tier, which also says critical damage is increased by 50%, actually now the number changed, because previously I will show you, I have all the same calculations for sniper rifle. Previously it was 175% of the damage. It's not even the double. So this weapon was struggling actually way more than before, and with this upgrade it's way more than. The pistol still has 208% damage critical, and you can see the critical chance is exactly the same. It grows in the same way when you have full 100. It's still, I still with my sniper's rifle will 4 out of 5 shots will be critical, and guess what? You guessed it right. That freaking last point, there's in between, there's weak spot damage actually also improved. No focus, some bullshit, but the last point is the same. Long gun critical hits, which I have quite a lot, will ignore fully armor, so it will hit even harder than all my calculations are doing. Just quickly let me jump back and I'll show you what's the difference, because at the bottom I have exactly the same for sniper rifle. So this is basic sniper rifle stats. These stats are for plasma, it's the same sniper rifle with fully upgraded science, which reflects in this box. And then I have my ranged weapon upgrade, and as you can see, yeah, this here, my default critical chance is only 30%. Here I have 80, and also the critical damage is actually improved, 240 and 175. So let me give you the quick update why and what is the hilarious thing about bugs is. Let me quickly write you down. If I had previously critical damage, right, and we know that from 2nd tier we had plus 50%, basically that's what is written there. So that can mean 2 things. One thing is just purely for this amount there is added 50, right? Like how it's called in English, added 50, right? Or another way is by 50, it's improved by 50, which means this number then is by 50 would be multiplied by 1.5, right? And the funny thing is, none of these numbers actually is 240. I don't know where the fuck this came. I don't know how this game does the calculations. It shows 240, which when it came from this base, I don't know where it came from. So actually, I guess I have one guess. Let me quickly do calculations right on spot. Let's say, because my weapon is upgraded, let's say it is ignoring. If it is ignoring, could it be ignoring? Why I have the same number? No idea. No. Sorry, no idea. No idea how this number came up, but it's there. And I will just show you calculations, because we have 2 numbers. We can check out 2 numbers. First things first, damage is way higher. Calculations again proven to be right. When you calculate damage versus how many shots in the minute you do and how much shots in the second you do. 2 shots in a second, quite nice. But when you run out of magazine, you need to reload. It's actually not twice as much. So then we take our basic critical chance, do exactly the same, blah blah blah. Outcome is pretty cool. This is without any updates, and boom. Funny thing is, as this weapon is really slow, 2 shots per minute per second, and actually in the minute there is way less. It's 69. It's almost 1 shot per 1 second, because there's small magazine, a lot of reload time is quite heavy. So the difference from taking in consideration critical shots, you see the difference is actually not that big. It's just 4%. It's small, just because the weapon. If you take damage per second, which means there is no reload time, it's pretty good. Yeah, it's still good. It's still critical chance actually does way more damage. But let's see what happens when this block is again for science. Science weapon we see here, damage is improved, it goes up, critical chance the same, blah blah blah. Actual damage is 522 already, when taking in consideration critical shots. And now if we calculate by the same, you see that actually there is improvement. What the game shows, 29,565, but actually with critical shots the improvement is 18%. And here is, yeah, this is my calculation and what game shows. So yeah, in my honest calculation, opinion and everything, I see when taking consideration critical shots from my calculations before science and with science, there is 25%, approximately, well, 26% improved boost, because you're doing more damage, simple as that. And but what game shows, these are game numbers before and after. It's I don't know their calculations just way off, simple as that. But more interesting, obviously everyone's interested, what happens when sniper rifle is fully upgraded with freaking 80% critical chance. And yes, the damage is awesome. And when you take in consideration damage, see, this is what we got. This improvement is what difference, what game shows you. Game shows only 27,000 damage per minute. Actually, it's 37,000. Quite big difference. In the second, 40% difference. And if you put it against my calculations, yeah, because the weapon is slow, something feels off. Yeah, the base damage is pretty high, so the critical is, yeah, and the, oh yeah, I get it. So the problem is the critical in this calculation currently I left untouched. This is wrong, this is wrong, this is all wrong. Here, if we can believe game, let me scroll it here to, now my damage is 240%, 0.5. So this is actual numbers. Sorry for misleading you. So actual numbers when the critical is, if we can believe game, which we can't because their calculations are off. You see the actual damage is 700 per shot. This is just, and when calculated, you see the difference from their given numbers, 44% off, or 55 actually in the second. And if we compare to science against long range weapons, 37% increased. This is from my calculations with critical, and this is if you compare game given. Game will show you that science actually does more damage per second, which is wrong, which is not correct. And yeah, take it or leave it. Science against ranged weapons. Let's quickly switch back to the game because you are already tired from the numbers, I believe you. But this was important for me, for you, for everyone. So remember, there's also long gun critical damage that's calculated, then there's a weak spot damage, headshot damage, ignored armor. Sounds good, does it? Doesn't it, right? And if you're wondering, yeah, but how do we know if enemy has one armor and this one armor is taken away? There's nothing, right? Alright, let's take for a spin. I know it's already a long video. I have only a long video. Sorry guys. I can't explain you this in 1 minute. I need proof because obviously everyone is tracking me down and like, you made a mistake, there was one number. I must do it right. So let me just show you what happens. Remember, our critical chance is 80%. And we are sneak damage. We will shoot in head. We will, we will just for the giggles add time dilation. What was the damage I said? On average, with all the armor calculated in, was 720. We just did twice as that. Let's take a look. Maybe something was off. Ooh, there's a soldier. No. 653 was the damage. Not bad. Alright, we stand up, so there's no... Sorry, I'm bad. You see, this was something interesting. There was no 600, and the exclamation mark actually shows that it is critical. So that critical should be ignoring fully armor. So the game is somewhat where that 200 came from. When it's critical, it's 653. So there are some interesting calculations, and when I tried out, it doesn't. Now critical was 9 freaking hundred. To be totally fair, if everything is working, critical chance is ignored totally. Not critical chance, I mean armor is ignored totally. Yeah. I don't know, they're doing some armor stuff or something, but whenever I do a critical, my weapon should do all the damage, full damage, no armor, right? But somehow, and it means that those numbers should be the same for every enemy. Execute. Yeah. This is the number I wanted to show you guys. 2,565. Yeah, it is sneak, it is headshot, it is weak spot. It doesn't. Who the fuck cares? I'm just here to prove you that science might be good, but when it comes to, you see, I'm in combat. I'm literally in combat. 800 in the head, 105,000. These numbers are weird. You see? Yeah, this was weak shot damage, but still, when you can execute, and yeah, this build I currently have is fully relied on my companions. So my companions actually can just destroy anyone. I can destroy anyone too, so this is the freaking crazy build. I know I don't have science currently, that's not ideal, you want some points in science, but I'm just here to show you. I will not do the sneak damage. Yeah, in the back. 800. 1,000 something? 800? Yeah, you remember my calculations was 720? Ooh. Okay, you will take it in the head, like a champ. So, where are you running? Take it or leave it, guys. Of course, I'm not. If you want to go science, go science. My advice, I don't know. My advice would be I think, I'll just show you how my version of Captain's build works, because I have two area of damage guys that actually refreshes each other's shots, and they just can run. And whenever I will hit a critical, there's a chance to just kill, jump around, and everyone is just smashed to death. So even a crazier build would be to fully ignore, I don't know, we need to sacrifice some stat, but for example, the same dialogue option, and go fully long guns, let's say, or handguns on heavy for that matter, and in the same time put everything in science. That would be just freaking insane. Just freaking insane. But my takeaway is science, this tinkering cost, this is overrated, overrated, overrated. Yeah, this 40, I would go for 40, yes. In my original build, tech until 40 points is considered good. Beyond that, it's wasteful. And if we compare just long guns or just handguns against science, science doesn't hold. Simple as that. Yes, there is additional benefit of having it cheaper, have cheaper tinkering and what other bullshit stuffs they had. No one cares when you can just... Ooh. Come on, don't mess with me. Oh, alright, they are running away because I have this... Ooh, the big one. Right, for the big one, you can just disable it all the time. But anyways, my main point of this video, of course, as you can understand, is how crazy this damage output is, and how game is actually showing you less than you will do. Oh, sorry. Ooh, I'm crippled. Movement speed? Are you crazy? And I'm unable to dodge? Hell yeah. No, I'm not taking it. So, yeah. Video is way too long. I'm only one left here. No one is watching anymore. Well, it happens. Stop fucking spitting at me, buddy. Crazy build. Crazy build.
No hard feelings, okay?
And I'm still deadly as hell with my weapons. Alright guys, enough of me. Remember, in all those calculations, game is purely ignoring critical, chance and damage, and whenever you have second tier ranged weapon, this critical damage somehow, for handguns at least, I don't see changed. And for long rifles, it actually changed with a bit more than it should. The game's calculations are off. You need to test everything, and this was Morris. I hope you enjoyed. If you're not, I'm sorry, but sorry. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Morris here, and sharing this with someone who actually thinks they found some awesome build and ignoring critical damage or chance. Just point them here and say, check out that crazy dude with his spreadsheets and calculations. Hey, there's some interesting thing there. Alright guys, we'll meet in next videos. Cheers and bye.